Position, we do have Psystorm Gaming's Epic. And in the top position, we do have Foxer. These two are pretty equally skilled. I might give Epic a little bit of an edge because, well, I'm going to be real because of bias. Not because I don't like Foxer, who has had some controversies way in the past at this point. Barely even worth mentioning. I think he's a totally cool guy now. Has been for years. But Foxer does tend, I mean, a little more on the mech side, which I don't I don't judge. I mean, I play mech. Because he doesn't even play all that bad of like turtleneck. I mean, no one likes a turtlenecker, right? But because Epic, as I had said in the previous series, he's just a very solid Terran. It seems like he's really keen on doing everything like the right way. You know, so we have, you know, a lot of what Epic does looks like what you would expect from the top tier Terrans of the other regions. But maybe the macros aren't quite as on point, the micros aren't quite as on point, you know, that type of stuff. Where Foxer, I think, can be a little bit more of a weirder player, and that doesn't necessarily make you a worse player, but checking on their history, it has made him unlikely to win against Epic. So I think there is that little bit of a bias coming in here, just as Epic's been safe house, right? He got there into the finalists. Really happy that he was able to join. Foxer was on the list, actually. If only eight people, we kind of had to work around trying to find a Zerg. We were very close to having a very Terran-dominant event if we had continued inviting people like Foxer. But anywho. But it's also because I feel like I remember Foxer having good TvT, but then not being able to stand up to some of these very just nose to the grindstone, regular TvT. Gonna open the early game, into the mid game, into the late game, and they do everything very appropriately. Foxer's just a little bit behind, little, you know, steps behind at every point. So their history is not long, despite both of them having played for a long time. I mean, whether or not they're able to actually sign up for every single European or North American Open Cup or every single America's regional or whatever is a different story, because a lot of these North American players are part-time, if that. But I would have expected more games than this. They've actually only played 2 series, and both of the times it was an epic 2-0. So somewhere in my brain I must have remembered that. And so Foxer is coming up as the underdog. I still think it'll be a neat TvT. Look at some pretty cool moments. Currently, we're getting very similar openers, but the command center is faster for Epic. And, oh! I said Epic was just, you know, normal guy here. The normal man.
Thank you for becoming a member.
That was his alternative tag handle on the safe house. But he's actually going to do something abnormal. Thank you, Fetch John, for the gifted sub. He is going to go for a 2-Rax. Sorry, a 2-1-1. Ugh. Excuse me. Yeah, 2-1-1, which is definitely abnormal. What you see Foxer doing going to the 1-1-1 is just still 80% of TvTs. Attempt to break up the main base is not going to work out when your opponent has the exact same number of units, but then just defender's advantage. And that certainly did not work out. Of course, Epic couldn't know that, but now is in a little bit of trouble because there are more Reapers that come in. Epic went for a handful, 3. That's a decent amount. 3 and 2 Hellions. That's already a pretty good fighting force. But Foxer going even harder on those early game units will be instantly taken care of if there's a tank. We actually have a Cyclone, and that technically is something the Reapers can try and take on, but Epic doing the same exact thing there, guarding the high ground, not letting the Reapers take advantage of their micro with their grenades. And I think this will be good enough. Actually, Epic might need another couple of grenades himself. 4, 5, okay, 3 Reapers. There we go. Officially left over. Cyclone will get killed. Damn glass cannon. Those SCVs tried its best to keep it alive, but a grenade even popped it over so it couldn't be fully surrounded. The point is not to let this snowball, though, I would say, right? If 1 Reaper escapes, 2 Reapers escape, that's really not a big deal. 2 Reapers and a Hellion, I think, is also not that big of a deal. 3 Reapers is a little more annoying because they will jump up and backstab you, which is why Epic also was like, hey, I can go ahead and block this. Unfortunately, that block was probably also intended to hide Epic's ultimate build order here, that 2-1-1 that I was talking about. And instead, that Reaper just manages to squeeze on past before that depot was actually placed down, and we'll get that scout, which is really quite important. Foxer, you know, might have tried continuing to play maybe even a little bit risky, maybe put a third CC on location, which kind of sounds insane on this map, but, you know, if he thinks he's the underdog, maybe he's thinking he's got to do that. And that would be the absolute worst thing to do against a 2-1-1. Absolutely not. And even going for a third CC here on location, you have to be very careful. You can't really change your build to a 2-base if you're not already planning on it, but you can position your units better. And it's much easier to position a low amount of units on 2 bases than it is to 3. I'm hearing Boxer. Well, there's a very good reason for that. Foxer has kept the name for many, many years, but I'm pretty sure it was named his original name. But I don't remember what it was. So I can't really, I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But it definitely is in reference to a even older player, and that is Marine King Prime, actually. Marine King, when he first started playing StarCraft 2, was a huge fan of Boxer, as basically every Korean player was. He was just a huge star in Korea. And he played under the handle Boxer, and people were like, well, what the hell? You're not actually a Boxer. You're a fake Boxer. Fake Boxer became Foxer. Thank you, Zargio, for the, conversion. Ooh, fancy, fancy, fancy. Thank you. Now I'm convinced that PvP is the worst of the mirror matchups as Twitch chat. I don't think any mirror matchup's actually bad. I'm gonna say it. TvT was bad around 2022, 21, 22, I think. We had way too many 5-6 base Mass Raven games for sure. PvP, I actually don't think has ever been truly bad. I know it's been bad for the pro gamers because it's not the easiest matchup to play, but I still always thought it was fun. And then ZVZ was, you know, it's been the same kind of PvP thing, actually, where it's very frustrating for the professionals because it's not an easy mirror matchup to track. But it is, I think, fun for us to watch. 2-1-1 from Epic did nothing with the first 2 medevacs, and now his job is to delay the third CC as much as possible. Unless Epic was really believing that he could make a break happen, and there are some people who will still 2-base after this, it is extremely rare in today's StarCraft to see a 2-base TvT with bio. There does exist a, not exactly common, but we've definitely seen it, that 2-starport, 2-base all-in. That does happen, but not so much off the 2 racks opener. 2 Marine, 2 medevacs once again going back in. Again, you know, their job is to delay the third CC, but they also need to delay a potential push. This ended up going a little poorly there for Epic. That missile turret really working wonders. It is an early missile turret, but Foxer, I think, actually pretty wise to get this. Like, usually you wouldn't get missile turrets or any type of static defense until you're on your third CC, I would say, maybe at the earliest. But if you're up against 2-on-1, getting that static defense help compensate for your lack of units, the units that you can spread around, is actually pretty good. Foxer's actually already almost past the point, in fact, I believe he actually is, in which it's about protecting your limited number of units. It's, you know, he has enough units. He's actually up in army supply. But it is still, I think, because of the way that Epic opened, that Foxer had those missile turrets. 9 SCVs just went down as a Liberator, which is very odd to see. I can't really blame Epic for not seeing that coming. Went in and just killed so many. I guess it's a double Liberator harassment, and that's what's really doing the trick here. That is a very successful distraction as well. Epic knows that it's a distraction. Even if his medevacs did not see the incoming army. Ooh, this is so far a real disaster for Epic, guys. Jesus. Epic's in a lot of trouble because, you know, you also want to delay this push because they have technology on their side. That is what you gave up by going for this 2-1-1. You do not have Ravens. Ravens, obviously very crucial in TvT here. Interference Matrix coming down, taking out 3 of Epic's tanks. Now, fortunately, Epic does have a very good number of tanks, but canceling this command center, which really should happen. Oh my god, Foxer's actually mishandling this. Oh, geez. Oh, lord. All right, so yeah, canceling the command center is a good thing, but that was the 4th, not the 3rd. 3rd is under fire, however, as well. 10 more SCVs go down, but Epic is holding, question mark. That very weak Liberator comes back into the fold in the front lines. Weak as it is, still helping out there, taking out 1 more tank. Epic has cleared everything up, despite losing, oh my god, even more SCVs. Jeez Louise, it's going to be 28 SCVs. Excuse me, focus fire? No? Okay, it's going to be 27 SCVs. And yet the supplies remain weirdly similar. And I'm not exactly sure why. I think Foxer must have mismacroed. So he mismicroed, that's for sure. There's a lot of Marines that got dragged back into the tank fire. But I feel like I'm missing something. He should have more supply. This is absolutely the time to strike. If you go for that attack and then the opponent manages to make an immediate counterattack like Epic knew he had to do, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Foxer should be in a slightly difficult position because of his attack that, it stayed, it dedicated, it got entirely cleaned up. But not this bad.
I got a job now, so I can give you some monies, just like in the BTTV days.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Zargio, for the $25. I got a job now, so I can give you some monies. I don't often hear that TTS on my stream, but thank you so much, man. Glad you found a job. Things are getting wacky, though. Things are not over. By the way, the other thing that I wanted to point out was that certainly Foxer missed macro at least to some degree because Combat Shield's only just now finishing. That certainly impacted the battle previously too, but it was also many of the tanks helping out. 27 SCVs go down now on the side of Foxer as he desperately runs into Epic's third base, but things have really turned around here. Epic with 2-2 upgrades demolished that third command center, sending Foxer back down to 2. However, we just had the same thing happen. Epic also only on 2 command centers, but up 20 workers, up 30 army supply. And I thought Foxer was in an absolutely brilliant position, but things went really wrong all over the place. And I think it is a combination of not the world's best macro, and that's not an insult. That's just like, hey, you're not Maru. Sorry about that. But then also, because Foxer did end up sacrificing so many units, the front line eventually got killed. Epic saved at least some of his tanks. Then the drop at the third or push or whatever it was also got cleaned up. Yes, it killed SCVs, but when you sacrifice that much army, an immediate counterattack is going to be slightly difficult to hold. And it was more than slightly difficult, despite holding in the main or at least looking like it. Other things are still going very poorly for Foxer. His own 2-2 is finally finished. Equal upgrades finally as combat shields and stim for both parties. +3 starts up as soon as both of them can get enough cash. And that was a struggle. Foxer static defense not going to be extremely helpful as the game goes closer and closer to who can actually establish a third CC. But for now, it is keeping Foxer able to only focus on the front lines instead of having to worry about the main base as well, which is good. No doubt about that. Epic, though, with the map control, a little more confidence, obviously, that's understandable. Has his third C already completed because he slapped that down as soon as his other one died. And is actually being able to send it on over without too much fear. And you notice that Epic, despite having a couple of drops and attacks into his bases, is not really keen on getting so much static defense. And it is a choice. We're basically at that point of skill between these two players where static defense is a choice. It's like, do I invest how much minerals into static defense at what time? And, you might see Innovation versus Maro 2016. You might see Innovation play a more conservative TvT and have the static defense up because he is up against someone who's 2-basing him. That was very common back in the day. But even then, it was like, okay, but 500 minerals and missile turrets. What if you can't get that faster 4th base now? Well, you're in trouble. Oh my god, you're in trouble if you're going to do that. Oh my god, no. No. There's that cat gif. Oh, gosh. But yeah, that's maybe one of the reasons that Foxer's third CC wasn't as easily replaced. But he also did lose SCVs at a more awkward time is kind of what happened. But we're still going to have further base trades. I love it. Just keep throwing SCVs into the slaughter. This is a not worker-friendly video game, okay, guys? You cannot show this at work. Banned. NSFW, these workers sacrificing themselves for, I suppose, the greater good. Yeah, that stim's gonna hurt more than it helps in that position. Okay, medevacs and just sheer number of units. Epic actually is the one caught going a little too far forward. It's because he was focusing on the front lines, trying to break Foxer's third base, and he will successfully break that. All those Marines with almost +3 as well is going to tear down that command center. No third CC for Foxer. No third CC for freaking Epic either, but then he has a secret base going in the bottom right. I told you all, that this is going to be Epic favored, but it's going to be crazy, and that's exactly what it's happening. Epic is still favored here. He's got 10 more armor supply than his opponent, a couple of more SCVs, and crucially, a now hidden base at the bottom right. Foxer's 2 Marines could have actually seen the SCVs transporting, but they might not have noticed. And currently, no, he put the most in the weakened medevac, but there's no Vikings. He's clear. There's no stack defense. Epic still not investing into any. He was up at 1.60 supply, guys. And now he's only up by about 30. 20 of that is the army supply. He also has an upgrade as far as his bio, but he is missing the +1 vehicle weapons. Unfortunately for Foxer, that +1 is like, it's not a waste of minerals and gas, but it's a stepping stone. You want +2 more than you want +1. But it is something, and it affects the entire splash radius of the tank. But yeah, I think the +3 armor might be a little bit better. Maybe. I don't know. He's getting it too. So it's about to be even Stevens on the upgrades. But then, as we're going to say, that a 20 supply difference is very easily overcome by proper tank positioning with static defense. And that's something that Foxer has had. It was a bit of a resource drain earlier on in the game, but it was a calculated decision. Then it was another calculated decision when things started to get really weird. And trying to reduce that weirdness is certainly a good goal. But it's still weird. He didn't reduce the weirdness all that much. Third CC from Foxer is actually a fake. It is his main lifted on over, but in weirdly a fashion, it's almost a secret base itself. The planetary to the bottom right was an excellent decision from Epic. Making sure he does not just get harassed by 8 Marines is really a nice peace of mind. And now Epic does the same thing with his main base. So both of them mining not super efficiently, but we are seeing now Epic mining a bit better. Second tank not sieged up. First tank sniped. Foxer taking the opportunities where he can find them. Another Liberator, much like 10 minutes ago, coming in to help out on the main engagement. And Foxer's going to try and keep onto this Viking control, this air control, and hope that that wins him the game, wins him a comeback. And that is part of comebacking in TvT. You want to be able to have an appropriate number of tanks, a decent amount of Marines to basically body, just literally be the space between the tanks and the opponent. And then you want to be able to afford the Vikings because you want to mitigate how far they get ahead with the air. Because if they're ahead, they're mining more than you, they have the ability to make more production. One of the ways you end TvT is with Vikings, right? Vikings, Liberator, Ravens. The defender, the guy who's trying to make the comeback happen, has to match that air count, even at the sacrifice of the ground count. And that's what Maru was really showing us when he was making all those insane comebacks happen. Once you have 3 bases, you can afford a little bit of the tank, a little bit of the Marines, and mostly trying to get to your own air superiority. Epic actually getting a little too overeager right there. Loses 4 tanks. All of his tanks getting torn down. And the tank here kind of almost sneakily hidden behind this pillar, getting some nice pot shots. Epic's not going to find it very easy to actually kill Foxer. I think I actually would like if Foxer did afford +2 vehicle weapons. I think that might be a worthy investment, but it is extremely hard to say. And oh no, Epic lost his tanks, and now it's, oh god, it's all over. It's Jover. Oh my goodness. Oh, maybe it's not actually. From the backside, a couple of units. Liberator also getting some shots over. And hey, wait a second. All the medevacs, actually. That was Epic's supply lead is now gone. His own Liberator getting torn down. His main command center now potentially under fire. Well, it should be. That's a goner. SCV is also nowhere to go. Foxer continuing to expand aggressively into the slight mineral patch base. What is happening in this game? Oh my god, a Liberator is killing another Liberator. Liberator on Liberator action. You do not see that very often. Epic 17 SCV loss plus his main orbital puts him in a now worse economic position once everything is mining, and that is currently the trick here. Foxer having to move his SCVs around. He's up by 7. Epic's got that very safe base at the bottom right, but now he's in trouble on the front lines. Everyone's got those equal upgrades, except those tanks from Foxer do that little bit more damage. And most importantly, Foxer's Liberators, they've been a little more impressive. I think Epic's Liberators as the entire game, 20 minutes, I think every single one of them has been a failure. Sorry, but I think that's the truth. And while Foxer might have lost 1 or 2 Liberators without doing very much, 2 or 3 of them were freaking all-stars. They deserve, if he ends up winning this game, Some of those Liberators are absolutely key reasons as to why. That scan reveals too many tanks already sieged up. Vikings are also about to pop, so I don't think that was going to be a good idea. Epic trying to get some scouting with medevacs. You've seen that on both sides so far in this game. Entirety of the right side it's no man's zone. Like, no one knows what the hell is happening on the right side of Amphion right now, and Epic's taking full advantage of that. Right into the guts. Right into the natural command center. It looks like Foxer started to get an inkling as to this possibility, tried to respond, but was a little too late. That command center is burning, it's burning, it's burning. It's got 175 health. Come on, SCV, get over there. He's also trying to micro on the front lines and perhaps chase this down. Okay, good. He does send some SCVs. He will save the orbital. Epic actually having a real scan problem. So he's having to use his Vikings and medevac to scout way more often than you would like. Foxer might have made a very dangerous call in going for a third orbital. Going for a third and making an orbital. Both things were very, very dangerous calls, but right now, they are working out. However, once again, we got something in the main base here. Epic going in the alternative path away from the missile turrets, but now he doesn't have an exit. He takes down a tank who will ultimately lose this battle, and I'm not sure why he stayed around for so long. That was actually really weird. Intentional? Question mark? He's gonna try and hit his opponent's gold base, but 3 tanks sieged up in a choke. SCVs actually get pulled. Oh, no high ground vision! Oh, the scan comes in a little bit late. Epic kind of whoops-a-daisied into the tanks, but then Foxer whoops-a-daisied right back. Lifts the orbital, doesn't want to deal with high ground advantage, and now Epic technically has the air superiority. Vikings getting into a vulnerable position, however, medevac's flying back home. Somehow, one of Epic's medevacs from the main flies over his opponent and gets back home. Both players mining pretty much only from one base, by the way. Fox are going to try and move that third orbital over to the right side. And, you know, the orbitals are always a risky play, but there's always that weird, you know, double-edged sword, which is that technically the orbital can lift and leave, right? So if you know you're going to be overtaken, get out of there, save for the future. Planetary ensures that no simple 8 Marine drop will kill it, but then if tanks show up, what is it going to do? Just buy 10 seconds and that's it. So that was another reason why Foxer actually, you know, it's a risk. It certainly is, but it did work out, particularly because both players have kind of been forced / decided, I don't know, to play the left side of Amphion. And that's why this right side is entirely barren. There's nothing going on over here. So Epic got that hidden planetary. It was found out, just can't be killed. Not easily anyway. And then Foxer is now getting this middle base off to the right side that is somehow also a no man's land, despite being the middle of the map. This is a weird one. This is a weird one. Things have calmed down, kind of, as we have more of a siege hop coming down here. No further base trade-ish things happening, I suppose. Liberator gets shot down. Vikings, once again, need to be controlled very, very well. And so when things calm down, apparently, we have a very, very close game. Epic has a superior army supply, but his economy will start to really hurt. In just 1 second here, that planetary cannot lift to then move on to another base, another downside of a planetary. So while it's hidden, it was in a very appropriate place to put a planetary. The tanks of Foxer could not get over there very easily. Great. That helped you out for approximately 8 minutes. That sounds like an amazing feat. And it is. But this game doesn't end. This game went on, now 24 minutes long. And now you're going to have an almost useless planetary to the bottom right. I suppose gas is also going to become an issue. It already is, actually, for Epic, so there's always going to be that available, but oh boy. The lack of scans has made Epic take more than a couple of bad fights just running into his army, his opponent's army inadvertently. Where if this was a normal 25-minute TvT, I mean, we're talking like 10 orbitals, you know? Like, there's scans going around everywhere. There's sensor towers every which way you look. Foxer, by the way, investing into sensor towers. Again, very purposeful here, and I like it. I really do. That forward sensor tower is actually a really good idea, but here we go. Another base trade number 50 bajillion. Orbital command of Foxer will go down. Epic now trying to defend his main base. He's still got that one tank on the high ground, and perhaps that will save his life, but he's got to back up into it. It's kind of covering the choke, but not completely, but enough, apparently, that Foxer will not try and go for it. Another orbital of Foxer goes down. He's down to just one base, guys. One base, and the army that we currently see here is going to go for it. Lands the Vikings, drops the Marines, but in a possibly worse position. That tank is freaking amazing. He dropped them into a hole. It was like there's a donut hole and I'm going to drop my Marines right in there. And that did not end up going very well. And now we got Epic trying to enter into Foxer's main base as well. But Foxer now with 3 tanks, about to be 4. Can he get the 4th one out? Can he get the 4th one out? The 4th one pops. Can he siege it as well? That's 4 tanks protecting what's left over from the main base. Epic still has that army supply lead. He has successfully defended his main base. Now the planetary will be the next targets. Foxer finally able / forced to go and get his tanks over to that planetary, as I don't think returning home is going to do much for him. He's down to 2 SCVs, only some production centers. And then again, if he doesn't return home, he's never going to match up his army, and he's already down an army supply. No ability to make a Liberator, both players supply blocked. He did not end up making his way over to that planetary. It's possible that he already thought that it's already mined out, which I can't blame him. It very nearly is. And wasting that time going over there to kill a planetary that is no longer useful would not be helpful. And he is going to once again try and break that main base, finding a little bit more of an opportunity this time. But then they're not dropping! They're not dropping! They're not dropping! Oh my god, why did he stop dropping? Oh! Oh! Epic pays attention at the very last second, gets one of the medevacs, but doesn't find all of them like I think he could have. I think I would absolutely have traded out those Marines for all those medevacs worth of units. Leaving only tanks, they can't defend each other. Foxer's army is entirely split, about half of it in his main base, half of it in his opponent's base. He's not fully taking advantage of the choke either, with 2 tanks on the low ground. I'd really love for him to re-siege that up on the high ground. I'd really love for that to happen. But he's not doing it. I'm not sure where Foxer is paying attention, but here come the medevac actually into the Vikings, however. Not particularly useful. The tanks are going to get some pretty nice shots, but a concave, very, very nicely done. Tanks actually looking the other direction now, too. It's a concave and a surround. Epic finally coming back home to take care of Foxer's army. And Foxer is able to escape with simply 2 medevacs, 1 with some units. He's going to go back home, get his tanks, and try for one last push. We are down to 1 town hall each. 1 orbital for Foxer, 1 planetary for Epic. Production? What production? This is now a micro battle. And it's one that I think Epic can win. Tanks are great, but only if the person refuses to micro. Then you're going to need something to protect those tanks. And I imagine Epic will micro here. Nice little concave should do the trick. He's got medevacs to heal up his Marines. That +2 never came into effect, so he can stim freely, quote unquote, I guess. Concave will still be, very much necessary. Concave. And he, once again, that's the sign of that no scan, right? Walks into the tanks, takes some damage. Medevac sacrifice for a scout. Sees that is, in fact, all of it. Also baits the Marines. Epic comes in with all of his army, dropping on top of his opponent's tanks, and will he win the final Marine versus Marine battle? I have no idea, but I think he's got the medevac count to do so. It comes down to 7 Marines and a tank, but Epic has done it. Epic, with 25 army to 0, has won game 1 of this qualifying best of 3 round of 16. It's not even a qualifying match. It is the round of 16, but if he did not put up a hell of a fight, both of them playing like it is the grand finals of the GSL. Holy shit. What a game. America is good stuff. Game 2 is going to be on Alcyone. I'm a little tired after that game. I wonder if the players are. In the top right, narrowly getting that victory, he is Epic. And in the bottom left, we've got Foxer. That was a catch. That was a game of catch. That was you and your pops going to the backyard and throwing the ball around because, oh my lord, it creates a very entertaining game. But there is no doubt that there were multiple points for both player of which they were substantially ahead. In the very beginning, Foxer had a superior position. He had successfully defended the 2-1-1. He had done his push with superior technology. And then, well, microed a little poorly occasionally, and then probably just overspent his units, sacrificing them to kill the economy, and then got counterattacked. And like I had said, it did seem like also Foxer, while trying to be the aggressor, did mess up on his macro, which meant that I think he was in more trouble than he should have been with the counterattack. That combat shields was especially brutal, because it also meant that anytime he didn't pay attention to those Marines, if they did derp into a tank, they just got immediately obliterated. And that's exactly what happened. Combined with a little, miss macro at times, yeah, you're going to put yourself in now a very weird position. Epic took full advantage of it, really came out swinging once he finally got back into his groove, and even then, still had some trouble. Eventually, after however many things happened, I cannot summarize that game, that's for sure. But after a certain number of things happened, Epic had a 60 supply lead. 100%. That was around, like, minute 12 or something. They had a 60 supply lead. And then base trades. Base trades, and more base trades. SCV slaughters. And SCV slaughters, and more SCV slaughters. Miss micros against tanks, and more miss micros against tanks. And the lack of scans leading to kind of horrendous starts to fights. And it was just all types of messy. And I suppose after minute 18, it was so messy, it was, like, who... No one's in the lead here, even if they have a, like, literal lead. Even if they were up 20 army, 20 SCVs, up an entire base. It didn't matter, because that game was just gonna go as crazy as it did. Things might be a little more calm on Alcyone. Amphion does have that interesting dynamic where you can try to force one side of the map being played more than the other. Whereas Alcyone, it's a very basic map. You got your bases on either side of the angles, and then you run through the middle of the map for the most part, especially because the Xel'Naga is here. Yes, there is a side of the map that is, you can't path through without air units, but it's not nearly as... It doesn't condense the map like Amphion does, when they were literally just on that left side, because they both, again, either chose to do it or also were forced into it, both probably multiple times. You don't really have that on Alcyone. You can't have Foxer in a desperate position try and force a siege hop almost, like he did last game, where he kind of snuck out a base, then decided that vertical base structure was working out for him so he could push and defend. You don't have that on this map. So I think what I'm trying to say is it'll probably get a little screwy again with the way that these guys play, but it'll be a lot more defining when things go badly. Last game, there was a lot of potential for comeback, but I think this time, whoever makes that first major mistake is going to regret it pretty quickly. We already have Foxer starting to lose out on a little bit of a micro battle, forced to retreat back home. Epic can only give so much chase, knows that there must be reinforcements on the way. Oh, a tank is pretty powerful there. Epic somehow avoids that Cyclone getting splashed. I'm quite surprised by that. And as that is his power unit here, he really needs to keep that alive. Foxer 3rd CC coming down. We got typical 1-1-1s this time around for both players. Another reason why that game got so screwy, Foxer was the player who was supposed to keep that almost as normal looking as possible. He was the high technology, 1-1-1, 3CC, move out patiently. That is TvT. Epic was the one that was kind of, a bunny rabbit on steroids. Like, he had to do something that was strong and fast. And sometimes it wasn't strong enough, and sometimes it wasn't fast enough, and that did give Foxer an undeniable lead in that early-ish mid-game. But things, did eventually go into let's call it a normal TvT, Biotank versus Biotank. Here we're going to have both players go for the 1-1-1, so we're going to have a normal TvT right from the get-go. Cyclone would love to take on a tank. I was going to say, definitely micro that one. Actually, that grenade just popped the units closer. Yeah. Fortunately, the Cyclone was into Not as good as it used to be. 30TC is on location for Epic, who had that little bit of map control by having that little bully moment there, pushing Foxer back. Epic thought, you know what? I think I have enough time to finish this on location. He's not wrong. However, this will not lead to him being able to mine on location. He will have to lift, and that's, at the end of the day, the most important thing, that the command center is done. It's very unlikely it'll be killed. Lift is going to be abused. That makes sense. That tank was ever healed, though, and I think that's now one shot. Gotta be very careful. Well, it doesn't matter. Interference matrix is done. No tanks will be firing here except for Epics. And, well, Foxer, I don't know. I don't know about this. He's losing a lot of important units and his own economy a little bit back at home. You know, this is buying a lot of time, actually. It even successfully escapes. What? No, that's not supposed to happen. Epic not giving chase as quickly. Might accidentally let this go. Boost is off. Cool down. Boost for your life. Boost. Oh, no. Unload, for the love of God. Okay, yeah, he's on it. He's on it. Because, again, at this point in time, this is all about how much time it buys. If Epic spends time chasing this down, that gives Foxer the opportunity to cover this 10-ish army supply gap that he has from dedicating to that ledge abuse. He did lose the tanks in pretty dramatic fashion. Very easy break from Epic. Unfortunately, you know, that'd be okay if Foxer also was getting his own third down and his SCV count higher. Then it'd be like, okay, I just need to cover this one gap of army and then I'll be fine. Well, he's actually behind in every regard so far. He's behind in sim timing, he's behind in workers, he's behind, well, he's fixing that actually. He's behind in army supply. That drop though, what? It's 11 health and it comes back in, are you serious? That must have been the best possible timing. The missile turrets are done, but this thing comes back in and kills a crucial S7 SCVs. That does put Foxer at an even worker count, and if he could dislodge Epic's attack, well, then they might have actually been both on 3cc mining. But that is now the issue. Epic has actually held on to an even better army supply lead over this time. And we'll find a tank in the main base that can't siege. Second one sieges, but a little bit too late. Foxer going to lose his own economy, plus he's being delayed on his 3rd CC anyway. The only thing Foxer has going for him is that I believe his 1-1 upgrades are slightly faster. Otherwise, he's behind a tank, he's behind a Raven, and he might actually just be losing right here, right now. Auto turrets coming down for Epic alongside the interference matrix will probably do the trick. As the SCVs get pulled into the slaughter, the friendly fire from Epic's tanks actually is what might make this a quote-unquote hold. Not a very pretty one, though. Not a pretty one at all. And unlike the last game, Foxer doesn't have a cheeky 8 Marines obliterating the entire command center. I think Epic thought that that would be the game end. He did not micro his Marines back, as he probably should have. But ultimately, he is correct. That is effectively the game end. Both players now on 1-1 with Stim. Combat Shield has now been forgotten by both of them. It's a much calmer game, but both probably a little razzled. Rattled. Razzled. Or a little razzle-dazzled from the last game. Yep, they're just both forgetting combat shields. Ah! And what a time for Foxer to remember his. Oh my god, he does! I was going to say, he didn't remember it that quickly last game. I do believe that was just late. But in a weird twist, he is the one that remembers combat shields, and that could cover, let's say, 20 army supply? Oh my god, and he finds 2 medevacs! Epic sends his army unknowingly into the Marines. Foxer has pulled the boys, y'all. This is entirely all in, and somehow, some way, he makes it look like it could actually work. But the combat shields are not fast enough, but maybe they're not necessary. That tank, though, getting a couple more shots than it should. Now we got to skedaddle back to our reinforcements. Marines trickling across the map in desperation as Foxer, he knows that that was his only time. And I really got to say, if combat shields was much faster, I do wonder if he would have won that fight so straight up with combat shields. Lack of medevacs would eventually hurt him, and Epic, you know, really holding up on the main or natural with tanks. I think would eventually have happened. But still, I kind of want to play that again with combat shields and see exactly how that would have played out. A Foxer knows that was all in. He pulled the SCVs, despite having his third to see on location. I mean, this is a, okay, I'm going to die. Let's just do this. Okay, that actually went surprisingly okay. I guess I'll stay in the game. But I do not believe for a second that Foxer believes that he can actually win. Epic finally noticing his lack of combat shields as well, so he'll get combat shields as 2-2 finishes. He's also grabbing his tank upgrade. Sensor tower is on the third to protect that. Missile turrets made in the main base. Some of the natural would really solidify Epic's defense. The only thing Foxer could do that's remotely scary is go for a Doom drop. And even that's not that scary. Epic is closing in on a probably tripling of his opponent's army supply. Liberator starts killing what little SCVs there are. And we're just gonna be waiting for the tap out. Whenever Foxer wants to, basically. When we're gonna see it. Could be middle of his attack. And never mind, I don't want to bother. Could be as his last unit dies. Could be as Epic finally moves out. It'd be a lot of times for Foxer to tap out, but tap out he shall. Foxer is a 55 army supply to his opponent's 111. He's out upgraded as well. And a lot of that army you're looking at is once again SCVs. See, what you gotta do at this point is just pick up all your medevacs and try and fly across the map. Epic's already preparing for this. He's already getting his units stacked up in the main base. Apparently the winner of this is gonna face Scarlet. Did I read that right? I did read that right. I also could have guessed it if I had really paid attention to where we are in the bracket. Special is continued on as expected. Scarlet's continued on as expected. Trigger has as well. Vindictive vs. Kellizer currently happening. That'd be a fun one, but Kellizer should win that. And so this will be perhaps the last even match between the Terrans, I suppose, on this side of the bracket. Scarlet should have a very favorable position, even, I would say, against Special on her side of the bracket. It's the final where I think she'll finally be tested. But I don't want to entirely count out Epic. Scarlet has a couple of surprise NA Terran losses to her name. He has lost to Future a couple times, surprisingly. Drew out a couple of 2 base all-ins against her. It was a while ago, though. Epic not just A-moving, because he really doesn't want to let this game go. But he can actually A-move. He can so A-move. It's crazy how much this guy could A-move. And I'm about to, you know, shout at him telepathically. Just A-move. Just A-move. Just come on, A-move. Come on. 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 Foxer, a strong believer in the TvT comeback. And you know, I'm not gonna say he would be in a recoverable position if he didn't pull the SCVs for the attack on Epic's side. But considering how carefully Epic has played this, I do wonder if Foxer, had he not pulled the SCVs at that point, could have maybe been at more of a 150 supply. Probably still without upgrades. Probably still, you know, lower in economy, obviously army, and upgrades. You know, very, very important. Now it's 3-3-2 versus 1-1. Oh my god. But I think he actually could have been at like 150. But he gave away so many SCVs so often. And if Foxer was really mounting a comeback. Epic could always add the air transition, as Epic has no air. He's got one Viking, I guess. Okay, so Foxer is going to go ahead and choose the moment. It looks like he's winning, but that's because Epic had so much more army on the left side, which he could come in and win with. 3-3 versus 1-1, guys. Hell of a drug. Epic will 2-0 Foxer, and will advance on to face Scarlet in those quarterfinals.